Cloud. And hi, everybody. Welcome to Sounds Good to Me. This episode is called What is the Sound of Guidance? So welcome. Hi, Yile. Yile in Wellington, New Zealand. Myself.
Hello, Karen. Good to see you again.
Hello again. And we resume our conversation talking about sound. Both of us have a let's say a special awareness about sound, and we've studied sound, and we're crazy about sound, and so it's such an integral part of our lives. I mean, not just our lives, but everybody's lives. But people don't usually think about sound, so it's good to have these conversations as a little reminder. But what is sound? Sound is vibration, it's frequency, so it's everything really. It's all of your senses. It's not just your hearing sense. What do you think about that? Am I going down the wrong path with saying that, do you think, Gile?
I don't know, I was just thinking that is that super spidey sense. And I was really intrigued me because the topic you came up with, the sound of guidance, I was like, And so it was really interesting because we had a pre-conversation before this session a week ago about it, and it was just interesting what it invoked in me, where your stories were kind of that you were sharing with me kind of reminded me of some experiences I completely forgot about. But it's always good to, I guess, acknowledge those strange, so-called strange experiences, because perhaps we're tapping into something more than we can see or hear. But by acknowledging them and talking about them can help maybe invite other people to share their stories and experiences, to go, actually, we're not going crazy. What is it we're tapping into? And the more we acknowledge it, maybe we could perceive it or hear it more clearly or again.
Yes, exactly. Because once you have an awareness of something, then you will be more aware when it shows up again, because it's that part of your brain that's connecting those synapses to, oh yeah, wait a minute, what is that? And perhaps, hopefully, you'll ask a question and get more awareness around, or more information around what it is you're asking for. It's pretty cool, because sound, I don't know if any of you have had, quote unquote, that's called the mystical experiences, but sometimes they're not so mystical. They're very, very practical. One of the experiences I talked about with Yile was I had a tumor scare many, many years ago. I was living in Miami, and I was worried. I wasn't crazy worried, because I have a very powerful connection with spirit, or whatever you want to call that. And I was driving in my car by myself. I had just left the doctor, and I heard a voice that said to me, don't worry, everything is fine. You do not have cancer. And it was so clear. It was so clear. And I had this this wave of just relief, and just this knowing that voice was the voice of guidance. It was a voice that was like, they are integral part of who I am, or how I be. And it was like, no worry. And in fact, it wasn't cancer. I took some primrose oil, just throwing that out there, ladies. Amazing oil that creates amazing results with any kind of tumor that could possibly show up if it's hormonal in your body.
Wow, that's really fascinating.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah.
So not only the sound and the guidance, you got the sensation of comfort and relief.
Yes, both at the same time. And it was like, you are not alone. You're never alone, and you're fine. So don't let yourself travel on something that doesn't exist. It was amazing. And how many times do we perhaps maybe hear something, and then you think you're crazy, and you're like, oh, I'm not going to listen to that voice. But the wise people who listen to the voice that say, don't turn down the street. Don't turn.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Or you find yourself not turning. You're like, oh my God, why didn't I turn? I always turn here. How about those little inputs, impulses? What?
I had almost like the reverse confirmation, if that were, of not being crazy with the voices. So it's almost like I was questioning and doubting, sensing, because I don't see or normally hear in that, I guess, what people think like it's quite loud and obvious. So the first time I came to New Zealand was 4 or 5 years ago, and traveling around, following the energy, as some people call it. So things I can't see. So just this impulse or guidance to go to different places.
Right.
And it got to the point in the trip, because I've been around the world, and it was probably like 6-7 months in, speaking to these so-called beings I couldn't see, and it got to the point where this is effing stupid. I'm talking to things that I can't see, right. And I was just going, this is a load of bollocks. and I just kind of started crying, going, what am I doing? I'm insane, I'm crazy. I'm deluded. And then I just went, like, New Zealand's beautiful, and I went to this forest and went, yeah, whatever. And I'll just walk in here, then it's gorgeous. And I'm like, oh, this is stupid and pointless. And I just got this energy first.
Yes.
Of love, I guess, or there's a change in energy. Because I was crying. And then I just didn't physically hear, but I just heard this voice in my head going, it's okay. Get your camera out. I was like, what? Get your camera out. I was like, okay. Don't forget the flash was the other thing. So, like, it wasn't like it was so clear.
Right.
I got my camera out, make sure I put the flash on, and I took a few photos. And as I did, on the photo are quite large blue orbs.
Oh, I think I saw
and I guess I didn't doubt myself because it was the energy of that love and reassurance that came with it. Yes. Not this is crazy, now I'm hearing things. It was a real calming voice, and I just took these pictures and wow, I was like, oh my goodness, and I felt really supported and loved.
Yeah.
So I continued to walk around the forest, really happy, going, okay, I'm not crazy, I don't see things, I can definitely sense and feel it. And got in the car, and again in the car, get out the car, what? And I parked the car outside this lake, and it was, so my back was to the lake. Turn around, and there was a rainbow above the lake. And I was just like, holy schmoly. So that was kind of like the sound of guidance, and it was just kind of saying, we're here, you're not.
Right, you're not alone. And you know, well, where do they come from? A lot of people could ask, well, how do you know they're not false? And I think one of the greatest testimonials to that to that sound is how you feel, what's going on in your body when it's happening. Does it resonate with you? And it obviously must resonate, or you wouldn't be able to even hear it.
That is true. For someone else, it still will be bonkers. But for me, it was like, no, I feel.
Right. It's not like they were asking you to do something insane, like kill your children. You know, there are people who get those kind of voices. I think those are demon voices that are not, that are distant. They're what do you want to call them? They're just not very kosher. They're kind of on a strange path. We don't want to hear those voices we're not talking about. But beware, because they do exist as well. However, if you are on a path that is seeking truth, more than likely they won't show up for you. I really think that.
That's a very good point. And I guess that's why a lot of people who are exploring consciousness or channeling or seeking their inner guidance, like, which, you know, is this my true voice? Is this my guidance? Or is this some trickster that's kind of, and I was always taught that they never ask you to, you know, these voices never tell you what to do.
Right.
And then on another aspect, I guess, is if we're infinite beings, coming from that viewpoint, it's like, what aspect of yourself are you telling? Are you tricking yourself? Or
and then it's also, what are you asking for? If you're asking for guidance, and you're asking that it's a pure guidance, and you're asking that it's for your highest good. I know that a lot of people have used that terminology to have clearer guidance, because we're always guided. I don't ever think that we're not. And I think that's why we have words like, how does that sound?
Yeah.
We'll ask the question like, well, how does that sound? And you ask about the sound, and literally what you're asking about is the frequency. How does that resonate with you? Does it?
Yeah, exactly. I like that one. How does it resonate?
Because it might resonate great for me, but for my friend, it doesn't resonate because they, let's say, want to go hiking in the mountains, and I want to go for a swim in the lake, and that's cool. And that sounds for me wonderful. Whereas for them, it sounds like they don't want to get in any cold water. Totally get it. They'd rather, exercise their legs and climb up to the top of a mountain. Fantastic. So that also is a form of guidance, right? How it sounds.
That's true. Yeah, how it sounds to that, to each individual's ears, and whether it pings. That's another term I've been hearing. Does it ping? It's like ding. I'm like, oh. Does it ping? Yeah.
Ping is great. I love that sound. That's a great sound. It's onomatopoeic, and it's like ping. Yeah, that feels really good. I want to do that. Right? It's like every cell in your body is activated, and you're excited, and you're like, that's what I want to go. That's where I want to go. And that's guidance. That is your own personal guidance system, following the sound, the words, the vibration, the event, the action. There's something about that titillate.
Yeah. What else have you had? Because if that guidance came through as words, have you had sounds and that you were like, oh, what's this? Or it was really clear to you about what that sound related to? Or?
I was just actually remembering a time when I heard ringing, like ringing. What is that ringing? What is that? Where's that noise coming from? And does anybody else hear this? But I couldn't ask that. I think I was out in a mall or something. And I followed the sound, and I ended up in a store, and I bought something. I can't remember what it was, but it seemed like nobody else heard the sound but me. So I would say that sound also, I think, sound carries information, right? It's like you have a conductor who's a real asshole, and the way he conducts his players, his musicians are not crazy about him. They get through the piece. They do a great job because they're professional musicians. But then you have the adored conductor who conducts with all of his heart and his compassion and his joie de vivre. He's got all of that going on, and he's connecting with his musicians, and what they bring to the recording or to the audience is just so profoundly greater to the ear. And so what is that? There has to be something that is communicated through the sound and through the musicians and what they're putting into the sound, by how they're what's the energy that's moving through them while they're playing, right? So there's something to sound carries coded information, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a really good example of I just been to Wellington Folk Festival this weekend, and you could just see the cohesion in some bands and some maybe not so much. And there was this particular string outfit that, like, there was a violinist, a guitarist, and a double bass, and they were just like, they to me were really amazing. There was more than just them playing the instruments. They were kind of together conveying this musical beauty that was really amazing. And everyone was just kind of silent for the whole time, kind of thing, because they were just in it with them. They took us on a journey, and that was very different to maybe some other bands who had a different tempo or only just got together just recently. So there was less of that magnetic energy, I guess. Yeah.
Yes, I definitely know that. Yeah. It's the magic, they call it the magic. Or why is it that a group, let's say, has been together for their entire lives, like have been playing music for 30 years together? and they start out, it's almost like they immediately are magnetically attracted to each other, guided to each other to create this amazing experience of sound together. And expand on it. I mean, even just look at the Beatles story and how they came together. One other conversation I had recently on my own personal experience, my dad played with the Count Basie band in the 50s, and that was an amazing band. It was well respected. Then you had the Ray Charles Big Band, which was a group of bad boys, and they always got into trouble. And they did. And my father's band, the Count Basie Big Band, the drugs were not allowed. I think they probably smoked some pot, but it was all pretty innocent. Whereas Ray Charles' band were truly like cocaine and heroin and being really bad boys. And they had a bad reputation. A lot of people didn't want the band unless they were like, you know, only there for like one night, and then they wanted them to leave. But interesting, you know, how that can affect the whole amalgamation of a sound, you know, sound.
Yeah, I think what you said, it's like, do we listen to our inner guidance, that sound or that resonance, for looking for that match? And I was just thinking of myself, we're just talking about what festivals to go to next, and I was like, I don't know, I'm not feeling it. And it was for a reason. It's just like, there's, you know, for me, it would be really uncomfortable for my body, and there's nothing against the actual festivals themselves. It's just like, it's just not where I'm currently at.
Right, where you're resonating right now. Yeah. I think that sound. Remember that exercise we did? Both Yule and I were at the sound intensive class with Jonathan Goldman in Colorado a couple of years ago, and there was one exercise we did where we stood in front of someone's body and we made a sound, and like an oh or an ah or whatever sound you wanted to make, but an open sound. And you moved down their body. And when you got to a part of their body that was not exactly balanced, your sound would shift. It was the coolest exercise. I would really love to explore more of that. I haven't done that since, but I was fascinated, like, oh my God, how is that possible? Did I change the sound, or did my sound shift simply because I passed through something that was not balanced in that person?
Yeah, interesting. That was really fun. That I think they put it was at the lab where we get to experiment. Yeah, I was playing with that actually, because it's like, oh, is it because there's a recipient and obviously the sounder, and it's also, does the sounder, if you could keep a consistent sound, you could do that. But also I noticed within myself, if I changed pitch or focus on my own body, it changed in strength in its resonance as well.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, oh, do I have, and certain vowels were weaker than others, and different on each day.
Wow, I didn't do
But
that.
yeah, it's really fascinating, I guess, than interacting with another person. And if it's the same for the sounder and the recipient each time.
Right. And then what would happen is when you got to that point where it was different, you stayed there and you made the sound, the same sound, until it just stayed the same. And then you moved on to the rest of the body to see if there was any other places that were quote unquote out of sync, which I just find that fascinating, because we don't talk about sound in mainstream because quote unquote the doctors haven't approved it as a way of healing, even though they use this thing called ultrasound. And they talk about whales and dolphins who use sound to communicate, but they do it, but why haven't we done it more?
I know, I do believe that. I haven't read much into it, but I think they're exploring the other sounds to target specific cells as well. And
right.
I know that
cancer cells and not the other cells.
Yeah, and also
I put an article like that on my Facebook page.
There's where are they based? My partner's been looking into a company called that they make frequency specific devices that you can change the frequency on the thing and
oh, right. What's his name? Ryan? Is it Ryan?
I can't remember the.
Oh, they're frequent. It's a frequency generator, and
but there's actually been quite a few been around.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, it's not kind of mainstream, but they are around. They are available. Frequency-specific devices.
And if you go on YouTube, you can find a lot of YouTube videos with sound, with just a sound that you can listen to that is supposed to cover, like they have a sound for this and a sound for relaxation, and then they have a sound that is the Christ consciousness frequency, and then they have this other sound that is the miracle frequency. There are so many different frequencies. I don't know all of that. I think that each person would think it's good to experiment. Yeah, look at what other people have done, but find out for yourself. How does it make you feel? A lot of times I'll run them all night. I'll just run them in my room. I make objects, and so I like to impregnate my objects with sound so that they carry that sound even after they leave me. That sound stays with them.
That's it. You can
there you go.
Crystals.
Yes.
Because they have a frequency too. My younger brother, who's a music producer, I guess he's like a lot of sound engineers really open up their ears, and I guess they start to hear all the nuances. But he did tell me it's like he could hear the frequency of the crystals. It's like, wow, that's cool. But also then it kind of made him really super sensitive to certain things. So it was like, how does one control that perception of sound?
The name of the guy that did a lot of experimentation with frequencies, in particular frequencies, is Rife, R-I-F-E. And he literally was healing people right and left of horrible diseases, but they obviously didn't want him to get out there because you can't make any money doing that. So they got rid of his information as best they could, but of course it got back out. Now you can buy Rife machines, and then he has like a full list of all the different sounds and what they help to heal. But you have to find out for yourself too, because it might say that this is good for your heart, and maybe overall it's good for the heart, but maybe for you specifically, you might want to add another sound to that would exponentialize what you require. So that's what I think that sound, I think even medicine should be that specific, that person specific, without giving someone who's 300 pounds and someone who's 90 pounds the same medication.
Yeah, exactly.
Amount, which is just
ridiculous. I guess there's no one pill for everyone type thing. It's a personal preference. I wasn't sure, and I'm still exploring that some people, like you said, I think you already mentioned that about the love frequency is this, and this is the thing, this is the tuning, and I'm kind of like, and like Jonathan said on our classes, that all these different things work, and it's that intention part, and it's then playing with the different types of sounds that resonate.
Exactly. There's a formula that Jonathan came up with because he saw a lot of different healers doing what he was doing back in the day when he was pioneering the opening of sound healing and sound therapy. And one of the things he discovered was this little computation algorithm, quote unquote. It's like intention plus sound, frequency or sound equals healing. So there's a lot of ways there's a lot of things you can fill those in with, like the intention, or what are you asking for? Whatever you're asking for, what's your overall energy around an idea, plus a sound. So basically you're like impregnating or codifying a sound to create something, right? To create healing, to create greater joy, to create a happier life, whatever that may be. So filling in the equation, sound will carry that for you. It's in the walls of your home. Think about it. Think about your home. Think about walking into someone's home of two people who are always arguing. You can feel, it's like energetically it is there. That anger is there, and it's uncomfortable. And you actually can get angry because the vibration is there. If you've ever been to a place where there's been terrible war, and it's like a battlefield, that it's a historic place, and you go to that battlefield, you can literally feel an energy of war, of anger, of death, of that there's a vibe. It's just different.
Yeah, that's so true. I definitely can have experienced those moments of walking into a room and different places of the land. And it's almost like, I guess, depending where I'm at or where I'm receptive to as well, it's almost like someone told me about this, and I like that. Like, there's almost different layers that one can tune into of what happened in that land. So yeah, like the war thing, but there may have been celebrations as well, but it's like which one on that multi-dimensional mix is kind of pinging for you. And it's like, well, because one person would be going, yeah, there's been a war here, I can feel it, and I was like, oh, I can feel celebration and gatherings.
Right.
So it's different, like you do with soil and like going through the layers. And this era, we had the dinosaurs. I guess it's the same energetic soup.
Right.
That we're all wading through.
but then again, it's like when you were guided to go to Wellington, or you were guided to go to New Zealand, correct?
Yeah.
So what is it about a city for you, let's say, or a city? Why does it ping for me and doesn't ping for you, and vice versa? Such a interesting thing about the energy or the vibration or the sound. What is the sound of that city? But Vegas has an interesting sound. It's got many layers. There's a layer where you can just feel it, where people are pushing their boundaries to be bad. So they're not contained. They feel free, and yet you get people who take that freedom and they abuse it to the point of self-annihilation, right? So you have those extremes, and then you have the extreme of victory, of winning money after spending only like $2 and winning thousands of dollars. So you've got lots of little victories going on, and then you've got the alcohol, you've got the gambler who spends everything. So there's so many different layers of vibration. But then surrounding this entire city, you have people who are seeking calm, because everybody who lives here they don't gamble, they don't live that life. That life is for people flying in and flying out.
So yeah, what is that like living there?
Right? So there's this interesting vibration of all these very talented people who have come here to raise their families, and perhaps maybe pop into a casino on occasion, make a little money, but mostly work, make their money, and then get off it as quickly as possible. That's the vibe that I get in terms of that. Otherwise, it's very relaxed. It's a very relaxed environment, strangely enough. And it's changing, just like any city. Everything's always constantly moving into something different. We just had a very, very good hockey team. Strangely enough, in the desert, we have a great hockey team. And we're getting a football team.
Ice hockey team?
Yeah, ice hockey.
Really? Okay, I did not know that. It's like, what? Hang on, hockey. Yeah.
Ice hockey. Yes, the team was brand new last year. They just put these guys to talk about creating a cohesive group. They just put them together. Yeah, we'll take him. They got together, great vibe together. They work amazing together, and got almost to the finals, which is highly unheard of. Yeah, they broke all kinds of records.
So isn't Vegas, people feel anything is possible town?
Yes, that could be there too. Perhaps, I think that bringing in the sports is good, really good for the city, because it might change the dynamics a little bit, because, people can gamble anywhere now. Why come to Vegas?
Yeah, I've been to the one in the Vegas version in Asia, which is Macau. That's intense. A lot of people from mainland China, and it's just like people putting their houses on and like, what?
Yes, I've been to Macau. Very intense, but also there's also a vibration there that's very chill as well.
Yeah,
the people, the ones who work there, You know, the ones who are like making money and raising their families comfortably, it's brought in a certain level of comfort. Yeah, it's an extreme. It's an extreme vibe. Any town that's known for its gambling is extreme, because people are making there are some people who are making a lot of money off of people who are gambling.
So yeah, it goes back to that sound of guidance. Where are we guided to go?
Right.
Or what experiences are we guided to have in those cities? I mean, I remember living in London. Like when I first moved down, it took me a while to get used to it. Some people say that you either quite lonely or you make loads of friends. It's like trying to break into that into a group, because there's a lot of mixed groups as any big city has.
Right.
And I loved it. I love the diversity, but it took me a while to be okay with that and go, okay, this is who I am in this mix, and then I can play with this group and this group and this group. Yeah. And it was really cool. And I still knew how I didn't lose myself in those diverse groups. However, when I did move away, like when I went traveling and then went back to London, I was like, oh my God, I've forgotten. And it took me a good 3 weeks to kind of get back into the groove again.
Right. Yes.
It's like, there's so many people. After New Zealand being, there's only 4 million people in the whole,
the whole island, right?
So it's like space and.
Yes, and there's so much nature. There's a tone in New Zealand. I would call it a tone. It's almost like it rings through. Even in the city, you feel it, because you know that it's like the nature there is so strong, like it calls to you. So I don't think even if you stay in the city, you're eventually going to go out of the city. That's what it seemed like to me. I really, really liked it.
Yeah, I've never been more into nature, I guess, and birds than I've ever been in my life. Like I don't think I ever remember. Maybe at primary school, but that was out of a city in the country and in a small town. But you learn about trees, and it's like, oh yeah, and then you kind of there's a missing gap of that in my adult life, and it's like here I'm now like I know the names of the birds and the trees.
That's awesome. Well, I definitely have an appreciation of the desert now that I never had. There's a beautiful life in the desert that certainly has it's that they say that Vegas is built on a vortex. So maybe that's what I'm perceiving. There's an energy vortex. That's why they even built what they built, because there was something energetically about it. And the missionaries came here and started that long time ago. So at any rate, the sound of guidance to choose to live in a certain city, to choose to live in a certain country. The sound in the music of the people. I lived in Italy for many years, and the sound in the piano bar. I worked in many piano bars, so I got to know a lot of Italian music, and it was like this beautiful connection to their sound. It was a friendly sound, friendly to the point of we love you, but don't get too close. Just saying.
Oh, that's interesting. I thought you were going to go into the how some languages have a particular
invitation, maybe.
I don't know how you describe it. Like the song, there's like some languages sound like songs or very passionate, like the Italians and the Spanish and those countries.
But they can be just as abrasive as they can be abrasive as they are embracing. It's interesting. Yeah. But yes, I do agree. I think that there's certain languages, like the Thai people their language is actually quite friendly if you're just listening to it. It's just like these sounds, they're and they are quite friendly, actually, the Thai people.
I just want to kind of rewind a little bit about the ringing in the ears thing you mentioned, because I think I'm sure a lot of people who are watching have experienced that, and I definitely have, and I'm now kind of paying more attention to when it happens.
Right.
Sometimes it's happened when I've said a state, almost like a truth statement, it's like a ring and like a confirmation. But there are those that are that suffer from continuous, and I just find that fascinating about what's happening.
Yes, what is that, and what's going on? Is it something? Because a lot of times when something weird happens, we have a tendency to want to find the answer, make sure we're not going crazy, make sure that we're not sick. And when you start to do stuff like that, you kind of like solidify it instead of asking a question. Both Yile and I have studied with access consciousness, and that's one of its greatest tools is ask a question. So what the heck is going on? What is this? And it's not like that sound of that guidance may not come immediately. The guidance may come like all of a sudden you'll have that ping moment. You'll look at something, let's say you'll look at a color or you'll look at an image and you'll get, oh, that's what it is, because perhaps the information is being sent through a color or through a painting or through an image in a film or through you daydreaming, just staring off into space, and all of a sudden, boom, that guidance, that frequency finally can reach you because you're not trying to figure it out. Because when you try to figure it out, you're not allowing the universe to bring you the information.
I've been guilty of that one. I gotta think about it more. Come on, work it out.
I gotta figure this out.
Give up. It's like, oh.
Yes. It's the wonderful disconnect that creates the connect.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, right? When we can just connect to the beautiful illusion of this reality that is packed. I always think of the Matrix, right? Remember in the Matrix when he finally could see the Matrix working, and it was working through everything. Everything was moving, like the computer had numbers moving through it, the people had numbers moving through it, and they all had their own little programs, and it was wow, like that, right? So information is everywhere when you're seeking guidance. So that sound, that frequency, that vibration, it's there. As soon as we just have to get out of the way.
Yeah. Yeah, normally when you're doing something else, that's the other thing I think I shared with you last week about hearing my name being called, and it was very early on my spiritual journey, and I was kind of questioning about like people were calling in their guides and angels. I'm like, so how do you speak to them? And they were like, you just ask. I'm like, okay, this is weird. Just ask. And they said, oh, you'll suddenly hear on the radio, Angels by Robbie Williams or something, a song being played, and or things like this. And I was really skeptical. So I kind of like, well, do you have to introduce yourself? And like, hi. So I just kind of, I didn't realize I put it out there going, oh, I kind of went, okay then. So I'd like to meet you. And then I think a few days later, I heard my name being called outside my bedroom. And I thought it was my housemaid who'd forgotten her keys. So I went to open the door going, oh, you've forgotten your keys again. And the door was no one there. It's like, I went around the house going, did someone call my name? I didn't have the radio on, nothing. And I was just like, okay, that's quite audible. That was the first.
It's audible.
Yeah, that wasn't a ear ringing thing. It was a name. It was like a voice I heard. So that was interesting.
That is so cool. When I'm working, I literally have to concentrate, not to, just to allow the voices in and not judge them or not think I'm, going crazy or it's weird, and just allow myself to receive. I think that's one of the biggest problems we have on the planet, is that people don't receive very well. But if they would allow themselves to receive, they would imagine how much better, how much more fun this planet would be, number one, and how much more information would get through that that could guide us as humankind to something greater, something more. I mean, even Einstein got most of his information when he was asleep. He wasn't awake, quote unquote. So what is the sound of guidance of a dream? You know,
Yeah,
your
that's
dream,
it.
your dream has colors, it has images, it has sound. You have senses, your senses, and then sometimes you fly, you do the weirdest things, you do things that you can't do here. So there's so many different vibrations in a dream that when you're not trying to control everything with your mind, you can receive it. Right?
Absolutely. Like I said, there's so many distractions, or we distract ourselves on, and yeah, what will it take for us to receive more information or inspired action through these ways? And I think a lot of us, like you said, were very afraid of receiving, or we decided that it's weird because we have these filters on,
Right.
and for whatever reason, to protect ourselves from past experiences. But if we can allow ourselves to kind of open it up and have that childlike exploration again, like I'm really noticing the way I distract myself is like maybe painting or something. So that's like doing, and then all of a sudden I will start hearing inspired actions or thoughts or poems or music starts coming through in my head, or little tunes, and it's like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, how much more ease can I have with this, and how much more clearer can I hear
Right.
divine messages or
Right. And
inspired?
could you give me that information a lot more clearly? I didn't quite get it, but
Yeah.
I get the vibration of it, but I need more clarity. Absolutely.
Mm.
And you know, sometimes, you know, you shouldn't beat yourself up if you're not getting the information right away. You shouldn't beat yourself up if you don't want to do what the voice is asking you to do. It's your choice. You always have choice, and you can, you know, just think about it. Okay, well,
Mm.
that's one possibility, and then there are always other possibilities. And you can always choose something different. A lot of times their advice may be the best advice at the moment, and other times you don't have to say yes. So I just want you to know that that's there too. Okay. When I'm working with my clients, I've really allowed myself to, okay, you want me to make what sound? And I'll be like, and I'll hear it in my head. You want me to go, ooh. And I'm like, I can do that. Okay, I can do that. But then sometimes I'll get like, it sounds like the friggin' exorcist.
I've so been there.
And I was like, okay, I'll give it a try. I give it a try, but okay, now you got to choose something else because that hurts my vocal cords. So let's do something different.
I've done that in the sound baths, and I'm kind of like in my head going, really, that low or whatever noise, that weird noise, and I'm sort of going like start off quietly going. And like, oh, that's the one, and you're like, really, what the fuck? But there will be always someone afterwards going, oh, that voice you did really took me back to blah blah blah, and it really helped me shift some stuff. I'm like, oh, it's you, okay.
The sound of guidance, and that's the sound that person needed to hear. Isn't that cool? Yes. And in that sound, there's something that activates something in yourself and or in others. So you never know, you know, how wonderful the sound of guidance is. So,
Indeed.
ladies and gentlemen, please listen for the sounds, because sound, like I said, is not just sound. It's not just sound. It could be a color, like, oh, that red color, I feel pulled into it. What is that? And then you're like, oh, I forgot to close. I don't know.
Now you're going to get a lot of people going, oh, I've left the oven on.
Right, exactly. The guidance can come for anything, right?
Exactly. Like pick up the phone, right? How many? That's a real common, right?
Right.
I was just thinking about you. Oh, you just called.
Yes, exactly. I'm sure we could talk about this probably for a lot longer, but it is kind of late over here, and I've really enjoyed this conversation. I can't wait for the next one.
Me too.
We both are going to be out of our respective countries next month.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to be in Japan, in Tokyo, and
I'm going to be in Hong Kong.
So we'll be speaking to you from mystical, wonderful Asia.
I wonder what the sounds of those cities are like.
Yes, and then we'll tell you about those sounds. Oh my God. Oh yeah. Wonderful. So we thank you so much for tuning in. If you have tuned in either today or some other time in the future, we remind you that you are being given so much guidance. And so listen to it, listen for it, feel for it, look for it, be present for anything. How's that? That works, right, Ela?
Yeah, and how much? And yeah, please let us know.
Yeah.
I guess on the YouTube or wherever.
Right, or in the
videos going on.
in the event page that we created, you can always go to Sound Illuminations, where I created the event, and underneath that, you can always, even a year, 2 years, 4 years, 5 years from now, if you stumble upon it, the video, you can always go back to it. So it's under Sounds Good to Me, which is the name of our series. I don't know what episode this is. We need to count them. We've been doing this for over a year now.
Really? Every year? Crikey.
I think it's been a year already. I think, or at least 10 months, something like that. Anyway, I'll check.
Yes.
Okay, well, Yile, thank you. I adore you. I love your insight.
You're welcome.
Your
nice to see you.
Great to see you too. And I will see you in Asia.
Asia.
Everybody.